Hi, this is Naroki5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this personal and, I think, noble objective by contributing to my Patreon or Subscribestar. Link is down below. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much.
Okay, hello everybody. This is the Red Pilled Nation Hangout number 398, take 2. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Henrik about his experiences over at the Democrat National Convention. Unfortunately, Henrik was on for the first part of this, and then he has an early morning tomorrow morning. So actually, so do I. So I had to go to bed here. I am your host and somewhat insane individual. I am the Roki5. With me tonight, back from the hallowed halls of Valhalla, where he's been staying and banging all the lovely Valkyries, is Rearson. So Rearson, introduce yourself.
I wonder if they actually have an Asian version of Valkyries, but we'll leave that one alone. But then again, actually, buxom blondes, I wouldn't say no to, but not my preferred choice. Shit, I'm all into that. What to say, folks? Yeah, I got a vested interest in the topics for tonight, so it's a big reason for coming out of exile. Won't be on for the next show, but I will be back for 400. And on that note, B, all yours.
Yeah, well, I'm here in sick bay, in exile, because I've had COVID for the past, I would say about 9 days. And, oh boy, I'm so proud. I kept telling people I never caught COVID, I never got the vaccine, and boom. It's all because I took a detour visiting a friend when I came back to California, instead of going straight to where I needed to set up shop. So, but yeah, I am back in California, and I'm going to attempt to do this episode with you guys with the AC off, because it's hell here. I mean, 100 degrees every freaking day, and it's brutal. But for the sake of a clean show here, I think I can survive for a couple hours.
Well, yeah. Well, it was pushing. Again, this is Celsius. It was 28, 29 Celsius up here today, which is pretty. It's not as hot as California, but it's still pretty hot. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I am at Patreon as Naroki5. I am at BitChute, MGTOW TV, Odyssey, Rumble, Brighteon, and YouTube. I am also at Facebook, Minds, Gab, MeWe, Getter, and TLB Talks. All of the links will be in the low bar of this video. Or if somehow when I actually start doing podcast form on Spotify and whatever, it will be there as well. Interesting. Hold on a second. Another milestone crossed over today. My Rumble page has surpassed 100 subs. I'm at 101. I have 83 on one channel and 18 on the other, so that makes a total of 101. Next up is Brighteon. Brighteon is currently sitting at 76 and will probably continue to go up. I suspect when I start uploading Spetsnaz's content and I start uploading my shorter content, I'll probably start seeing my numbers go up at YouTube. But you know what? Fuck YouTube. Like, seriously, fuck YouTube. So the topics for tonight, and this is the reason why Rearson jumped on, not topic number 1, topic number 6, but there's a lot of Canada content on here tonight. Starting out with a guy that I live in Edmonton, Rearson lives in Calgary, but NHL star Johnny Gaudreau, who played for the Flames for most of his career, dies of a victim of a DUI along with his brother, and this happened in New Jersey. Topic number 2, Tenet media exposed taking money from Russian sources. Both Tenet media and Lauren Chen removed from YouTube. What can I say about YouTube? Topic number 3, woke mob demand channels like Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, Ryan Kinnell, etc. be removed from YouTube. And it doesn't go anywhere. Topic number 4, Tennessee Star releases full manifesto of Nashville school shooter. Anti-white racism, trans issues, and insane leftist rhetoric. It's all there, and it's not. It is and isn't what you thought it was going to be. Topic number 5, Brazil bans X and Rumble, threatens massive fines on anyone using a VPN. And topic number 6, the Canada content. Jagmeet Singh breaks alliance with Justin Trudeau. And 6B, shadow campaign by Organizer Cam Davies to bring Leftists and Socialists into the Alberta Conservative Party to overthrow Danielle Smith. Yeah. Very, very interesting indeed. But yeah, let's just get it right into the topics here. The first topic, and I mean, we do the occasional sports story on here. Johnny Gaudreau, if you were to draw up a list of probably the 20, he's never been like what you call an all-star, like as in he consistently makes the NHL all-star team. Those are usually guys like McDavid and Crosby and K.L. McCarr and individuals like, and there's a few of them out there. He's not at that level, but if you were going to say build the U.S. national team or the U.S. national hockey team to play at the Olympics, like Gaudreau would probably be either the first line center or the second line center. So he is among probably the top 20 or 30 players in the league. He has played most of his career, which is why I ended up putting him on the list tonight, as a member of the Calgary Flames. He signed off. Actually, yeah, I think he was signed off. I can't remember if he was signed or traded to Columbus a couple of seasons ago. What?
He was a free agent, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he signs as a free agent. Yeah. Columbus is one of those teams that just can never seem to get over the hump. They got better with Gaudreau, but they're not what you call a contender by any stretch of the imagination. To give you an idea of how bad they were before they signed Gaudreau, they were actually one of the teams I think they were the second to last team in the running for the Connor Bedard sweepstakes. Connor Bedard was Rookie of the Year this year. He had the highest numbers as a rookie since since Connor McDavid. His first season. He's expected to be at the same level as Connor McDavid and K.L. McCarr and individuals like that when he gets to his peak. He's only 19 or 20 years old right now, so he's still got a lot of miles left on him. Johnny Gaudreau, though, is a guy you can build a team off of. He was a good competitor. He wasn't a soft player, although he wasn't what you call physically big. And V just left. Okay. But yeah. And of course, strangely enough, since that wasn't a former NHL player that called me when we had to stop the show earlier. He he had a family, and I believe he was at his sister's wedding when this happened, and they had just left, and they both died in a head-on collision with a drunk driver who got arrested and was actually quite hostile and belligerent when he got arrested. But I mean, again, like, it's not that we're talking about the victim of a drunk driver here. It's exceedingly rare when a player who's currently at his peak dies in an accident. Like, it has happened before. There was a goalie named Pelle Lindbergh who played for the Philadelphia Flyers in the mid-'80s who died in a car accident. There was a guy named a catcher for the New York Yankees called Thurman Munson who died in a plane crash in the 70s. So it does happen. Sometimes players just get cut off in their prime unexpectedly, and this is another one of those cases. It's the way it happened, though. Thurman Munson and Pelle Lindbergh. Pelle Lindbergh was actually sober when he had his accident, but he was driving well in excess of the speed limit. Thurman Munson just lost control of his plane and crashed. It wasn't that he was doing anything bad or that he had problems. Johnny Gaudreau was actually probably one of the better behaved, was probably one of the more well-liked and more well-respected players in the NHL. And he was also a good player to boot. Like, I mean, he would have been on the national team of any country that he chose to play for. And that would include Canada, which is saying something because Canada is just absolutely loaded up front with forwards. And Gaudreau still would have made the squad. We can speculate about how good he could have been. Can also potentially speculate about what would have happened if Gaudreau had chosen to sign with a team that was actually a contender and not Columbus, but I guess we'll never know now. Tragic for his family. Unfortunate for hockey in general. And I just, not our usual fare on the Red Pill Nation Hangout, but Johnny Gaudreau, rest in peace, and more power to you. And yeah, you will be missed. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Who was the drunk person in this accident?
You mean who was the drunk person? I'm trying to remember his name.
But it wasn't the NHL star.
No. He was driving. He and his brother were in the other vehicle, and they got hit by the drunk driver.
Mm. Well, one thing that I can say that I do appreciate law enforcement for is them actually catching drunk drivers and looking out for drunk drivers. Out of all the things in the world that they shouldn't be doing, that is one of them. And I do, I watch a lot of cop stuff on YouTube. Everything from First Amendment auditing to the drunk driving stuff. And I always applaud the police for that. Unfortunately, they can't catch everybody. You've got to be a very selfish individual to drive wasted. I just of all the crimes in the world to do, of all things to try to get away with, driving drunk is just one of those things that you shouldn't do. Now, I realize certain people out there, they go to the bar, that's their therapy session. Then you start having that stuff at home. It's absolutely ridiculous to me that, it's not like prohibition is going on. You can go to a liquor store, buy yourself a couple bottles, take your ass home, and drink. No need to drive anywhere. I mean, I'm so close to just supporting the idea of no more bars. Because you literally have to drive there to get drunk. Most people, I guess, are responsible these days and they'll catch an Uber or have a designated driver. But you're always going to have those selfish, dead inside individuals. And the only thing that they can contribute to the world is, well, more pain. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. But yeah, rest in peace to this guy and his family. It's just an unnecessary death. It's completely unnecessary.
Yeah,
There's
Johnny
no excuse
Gaudreau
for it.
was married. Johnny Gaudreau was married less than a year when this happened, too. So it's not like.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he was recently married to boot. So yeah, there is one other brother and a sister whose wedding I believe they were actually attending when this happened. Yeah, I've never had to deal with. I've never had an accident or a near miss with. I suspect maybe I've had a couple of near misses with drunk drivers. I've had a couple of instances where I suspect that people were intoxicated. Yeah, you talk to the police, and they will tell you that the majority of the crimes that they have to deal with, people are either high or intoxicated when the events go down. If they removed those two things from society, I mean, things would probably be a whole lot saner. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rearson.
I was thinking, okay, so what happened with Gaudreau is that I believe he and his brother were out cycling. They weren't in the vehicle. I could be wrong, but I believe that's the version that I've heard. And it was, now it doesn't matter when it was, but their sister's birthday, their sister's wedding was the next day. So one brother passing away would be bad enough. Two of them, well, fortunately, it is what it is. Yesterday, I actually ended up seeing a former coworker and coming back on the C train, and it was going from Earlton to Victoria Park train station. And I saw the Saddle Dome, and I just saw the memorial that was out there, and I just went, yeah, I need to go by. I need to drop by this. Drop by. I didn't have anything to do. I didn't have anything to contribute. I didn't write anything, but I could just feel. Oh, I'm just getting goosebumps just thinking about it again too. Just the outpouring of love and support from Calgarians. It was honestly, it was just incredible. Now,
Yeah, it was a biking accident. They got hit. They were on the bikes and they got hit by a drunk driver. Yeah, like wow.
Okay, so now I really only appreciate hockey once every 4 years, as Naroki had alluded to about the Olympics and whatnot, because at the end of the day, I don't expect Canada to be pulling in a Stanley Cup. It's gotten close a couple of times over the last couple of decades, but it's never close enough. So in that regard, I give up on hockey. So what happened with Gaudreau was, my reaction was like, what? And this was on Crackbook. I'm like, no. What? Looked it up and just went, oh, damn. So it is what it is. But the only thing that makes it, I won't say easier for me to accept this, but the only thing that possibly makes any sense is that this was already predetermined of what was going to happen between the two brothers and the driver before they came into existence, or maybe at some point after they've all been born. I don't know. I'm not in any way, shape, or form demeaning what's happened, the tragedy of it all. But the only way that it makes sense to me as to what happened and why, and that's really the only thing I've got. Now, it does make sense to Naroki or V. Hey, you know what? That's fine. Not going to say that I'm right or that you guys are wrong, or that it's just with shit that's going on in the world. That's the only thing that I really have that doesn't make me lose my mind. So, well, I heard he just had the presence, not the presence on the ice per se, but he had the personality that you would gravitate towards him, I guess is probably about the best way to say it. So, and that, gents, is all that I have to say.
Yeah, so rest in peace, Johnny Gaudreau. Yes, not very often we do a sports story, but apparently this one crossed the line into other sports. Like there was an NFL player who played for the Stampeders who decided to wear Gaudreau's jersey to the arena, to the stadium in Seattle. There were several players in other leagues that honored him as well, which was really strange because, again, yeah, it's like this is the kind of death that kind of like, wow, because like, I mean, it wasn't like this was self-inflicted or anything. Like this isn't like that one guy in St. Louis who lost control around his wife and then killed his wife and then went to, I can't remember what the name of that St. Louis football player was, but then he went to the team facilities and killed himself at the facilities, like put a bullet in his head. It was nothing like that. So, yeah, rest in peace, Johnny Gaudreau. And now we will get on to some of the more, I would say, interesting but less tragic topics, but I mean, nonetheless equally interesting. The next topic, and this one kind of came out of nowhere. Now, I was subscribed to Tenet Media on YouTube because of the people that they had there: Matt Christensen, Tim Poole, Dave Rubin. They had a fairly solid lineup. I didn't stop and think that of where the money was coming from. I was under the impression that Tenet Media was just somebody's idea of a conglomeration, and these people would just sign on and contribute content. I didn't stop, and Lauren Chen was obviously one of the people who was involved as well. I thought they was just a media channel, to create an alternative to some of the left-wing stuff that you see on YouTube and other places. I didn't stop to think about it. The first time that something, and it wasn't a whole lot of early warnings that there might be something off about Tenet Media, was Lauren Chen, or specifically Lauren Chen's husband, who is allegedly a conservative. Actually, I've listened to him on Lauren Chen's show, although I'm not a big listener to Lauren Chen. He's definitely a conservative and a Christian conservative, but it's exceedingly rare for somebody on the right to be openly saying that Donald Trump losing would be a good thing. It was very rare for somebody on the right to be like saying don't vote for Trump. That was a very, very strange thing to say. But this happened about 2 or 3 days before Tenet Media got exposed. The moment Tenet Media got exposed, things immediately came out. First of all, turns out that that there was a lot of financial. You saw DDJ's posts on this, right? Like a lot of these guys, a lot of these people who signed up. So it wasn't in much of a surprise that Lauren Southern would sign up because she actually does need the money. But Tim Pool, basically what you got is you got a bunch of people who, while they do care about, so the topics that they're talking about are also a lot about the money as well, which is why you also got like Matt Christensen and those guys, right? Like the about the money conservative, like right, well, I won't say right wing because Tim Pool's not a right winger. Alt media people who, a lot of it with those guys is about the money. Here was the thing, and then they started asking some of the other people who got involved in this, who were invited to join up but didn't. Now, I can't remember his name right off the top of my head because I'm actually pretty tired right now. But when he was told the name of the guy who was involved, he went and did a check on who the financiers were. And he could not find an internet fingerprint for the guy. So in his mind, the money that he was getting for this was coming from nowhere. And that made him very suspicious, and that caused him to back off. Now, when immediately upon this coming out, YouTube did the exact same thing to Lauren Chen, which basically they only got accused of doing it. And by the way, accepting money from Russians, as far as I know, to start a media company is not against the law. We're not at war with Russia. And if they were attempting to bring in propaganda to alter the elections, like the stuff that I saw on Tenet Media didn't look like it was going to alter anything, maybe soft power, but definitely not the election. But just on the accusation, YouTube did to Lauren Chen what it had done to Russell Brand. They just dropped his show forthwith and immediately without asking any questions. And then, of course, the mainstream media got involved. And then, of course, the mainstream media did what it always does in this situation. They selectively told the truth. And what I mean, they selectively told the truth. They told the truth, but only enough of it to make it look like the people who had signed on with Tenet, who didn't know where the money was coming from, Dave Rubin, Tim Pool, Matt Christensen, Lauren Southern, and a few others, to make it look like they knew they left out the detail that they didn't know where the money was coming from, to make it sound like they were in on it. And of course, it has also been pointed out that this leak happened conveniently right at a very critical time when it looks like the Democrat fortunes are starting to flag again. So my personal opinion on this is the reason why I have not really pursued YouTube very hard anymore. Like at some point, I am either going to retire myself, or I'm going to get bored and I'm going to move on, or I'll just become too jaded or doing the show. I'm just going to stop caring, and that will be the point in time where I just decide to leave or I take a break for a while, which is kind of like what Rearson's been doing. But yeah, there's going to be the odd person here and there, Russell Brand, Lauren Chen, whatever, and YouTube is just going to kill the channel. And Lauren Chen had a fairly big following. Like, she was not a small YouTube channel. And did I always agree with her? No, I didn't. She thumbed up a bunch of unhinged feminists being critical of the manosphere from time to time. She seemed to be, for a conservative woman, though she seemed to have a better grasp on the manosphere than most conservative women do. But, yeah, the issue of her suddenly deciding not to support Trump, though, I mean, that might be just an attempt by she got wind that someone that they were under investigation, and they just posted that up to cover their ass. But that was very strange that they know that they were on the right and they chose not to support Trump, especially since Chen, although she hasn't been rah Trump all the way, she's definitely not a liberal. There's probably more coming up with this one, but yeah, very strange story, very interesting timing, among other things. But with that, I'm done. I'm going to turn it over to V.
Yes. So, it's funny because when I was in Poland, I well, let's just say I knew people that knew people. You know, I could have had access to Russia Today. I've actually had someone wanting to interview me for Russia Today. However, I had other things going on at the time. I did not do that. So, starting TLB Talk, you know, our new free speech social network, you know, we're member supported, we're member funded. However, you know, there have been times we were really struggling, not knowing where the next dollar was going to come from. And I asked my partner, I was like, hey, I'm like over here next to Russia. I can get us some funds from Russia if you want. And he vehemently said no, turned that down. It's like, well, I mean, I understand the idea that when you take money from somebody, that they're going to want their influence and what it is that they're throwing money at. I do get that concept. However, as we to anybody that comes to our network, yes, you can donate money to us, but don't think that you're going to get that influence. You want to advertise your business, your organizations, your bits. Sorry, because COVID is tough. You can advertise your business, your organizations, you fundraise, you do all kinds of stuff with our site. You know, we actually have pages for these type of enterprises. However, again, it doesn't gain you the influence that you would otherwise. So I just had to offer, like, yeah, you know, let's get some of this Russian cash. I mean, if you think that you're going to be funded, if you're going to be critical of American government or American society and think that you're just not going to make it, accepting outsider funding, I mean, to me, that's a little, you know, that's one of those things you just have to experiment with. And yeah, it's definitely not illegal accepting money from Russia. It doesn't make you a traitor to your country. It doesn't. You just happen to have allies somewhere who can fund you. And what's the problem with that, right? So I don't know. I think that aspect of what you're talking about is just ridiculous. And with that, I'll pass it on to Earson. Go ahead.
Well, I was listening to Viva Fry as to what he has to say about all of this, and well, he's not entirely pro-Trump. He certainly is more in the camp, but he'll call things out from a legal perspective. He'll call things out from a legal perspective as to, based on his experiences of having been a litigator, lawyer, whatever, up in Montreal. And he said that this whole thing is or seems to be names being dropped like Rubin, Tim Pool, and Benny Johnson are now wrapped up in all of this. And the comment of it being that, well, the FBI is informing us that we'd be potentially victims of could be potential victims of this. I'm sorry. Like, what the fuck is going on? What's going on this year? What is so big in a couple of more months? Oh yeah, that's right. An election. And the way that I see it, assuming that the election goes through, because everything else seems to be going right now, anything can, will, and so far has happened. There's speculation with some truthers and people that have access to data, number crunching, whatever. I don't know. I think I've heard Carrie Cassidy with her name being dropped, or Laura Loomer. I think it was Carrie Cassidy. Has gone to record to basically say she doesn't think that there will be an election this year. And could happen. It could happen. I don't know. I'm not saying it is. But what I am saying is that if there is no election, I won't be surprised. And given the level of lawfare and fuckery going on, I'd apologize for my language here, V, but you should be used to it by now. But, I mean, earlier this year, let's not forget, folks, that Marchand, the judge, has been on record caught by James O'Keefe. He wasn't going to give him a fair trial. His daughter works for the Democrat Party. So, and there was I think the Supreme Court even said that Trump's constitutional rights were violated. And his sentencing is going to be delayed because if he goes to jail, they ain't got a fucking hope in hell. So, to me, this is something that they have to go after other people to maintain some, how did he call it? He called it J6 3.0. I mean, it started off way back when with the Steele dossier and Carter Page and all of those people. And there was actual J6 occurrence where 20,000-pound magnetically sealed door getting into the Capitol building was miraculously opened. And people were being directed to go in. So the Anon shaman, not the Q shaman, but the Anon shaman and everybody else that's still, he's out now, but other people that are still basically political prisoners. And now we have this. And why? Because as Nerdrotic had said, or it was said earlier before me, is that they're running out of steam. Like they don't have anything left, or there's almost nothing left in the tank. So now they're really pulling out all the stops. In terms of Laura Chen specifically, yeah, I won't deny that I simped over her a little bit. Not that I said anything to her directly or responded to her, but I did find her lack of comprehension of the red pill stuff, I tuned out. Like, I tuned out. I said it then, and I'll say it now. She's in a very comfortable position. She's got a millionaire of a husband. She don't care, so she can basically say whatever she wants because her hypergamous or monkey branching brain is taken care of. So now I do genuinely want to see due process to go through, and I don't think that they are guilty of any of this. And yeah, I don't know what else to say more to say on this one. It's just more FBI, CIA fuckery going on. And for some reason or another, my phone camera is on, so this is really pissing me off. I'm going to jump out, I'm going to jump back in, and that should kill it off. So I'll be back. Okay, and I got nothing more to say on this one. So Naroki, back to you. Dun dun dun.
There we go. There, I'm unmuted. There we go. This next one, and you're starting to see this happen now to the woke communities and to DEI and ESG, NHRC, and all of these alphabet groups and whatever, and LGTB, and all of these groups are suddenly dealing with effective opposition, right? Like the alphabet mafia is got libs of TikTok, they've got gays against groomers, they've got organized, coordinated, effective opposition happening to them. And because they do, and because there's an alt media, right? Like, and because Elon Musk, for instance, isn't allowing unhinged alphabet mafia individuals to go appear at the top of the feed to make it look like they're bigger than they actually are, they're starting to lose everywhere. In Hollywood, in industry, like you're seeing places like Harley Davidson and Tractor Supply and John Deere and Bud Light and all of these companies, you're starting to see these companies start to falter and fail and have to cave because an individual like Robbie Starbuck and a few others have, exposed what's going on there with companies. And I mean, like, remember, just a few years ago, you saw a quote-unquote conservative company like Black Rifle go from, like, yeah, hey, fuck the libs, to, like, Kyle Rittenhouse is guilty and yay gay because of ESG and whatever. And, and you're starting to see, and in Hollywood, right? Woke movies now, or movies, I'm going to start calling them activist movies, are getting destroyed, and TV series are getting destroyed because you have a certain community, a group of wokesters that are demanding that you like these movies and try to shame you into watching like really bad content. And The Acolyte was really bad content. Snow White appears to be really bad content. And you want to know what? It's working. Because even though the mainstream media continues to lie for them, right? The mainstream media has lost and is continuing to lose its credibility by the day. So, and they're familiar with their tactics now. One of the tactics that got used, and Ryan Kinnell was talking about that today when I was listening to him on my break. Ryan Kinnell was pointing, and there's been a couple of others too that have pointed this out. What they used to do is they all used to get together on a Discord channel, and they would all coordinate and they would all jump into this one thread or site, and they would attempt to shout down anybody that was there. Now, that worked for a while until people started comparing notes. For instance, I will bring up something that happened, Games Workshop in there, and even though they knew it wasn't going to be a popular move, decided to do a CGI, a move film clip of a female Adeptus Custodes mocking a space marine and treating a space marine like he's an idiot. Now, if you know a little bit about the lore, you know that, while the Custodes and the space marines don't necessarily see eye to eye on everything, like most Custodes will not, there's individual Custodes that don't get along with individual space marines, but they're on the same side, and they won't be talking disrespectfully down. And the Custodes are not necessarily the will of the emperor, right? Either, right? They're the bodyguards. They're not the will of the emperor. And they made this. First of all, they made her ugly as fuck, too. By the way, they made her ugly, but they made her a unlikable girl boss who was talking down to her allies, and they tried to pass her off as some type of hero, and it didn't work, and they were getting destroyed in the comments. And what ended up happening is you had this large group of wolves, and I remember because I encountered them. They tried to shout me down, right? And I was hitting back. And they kept coming and coming and coming and coming, and what finally ended up happening is that they had to back off because they were just getting decimated. Well, another one of these groups, they got together on a Discord somewhere, probably. They decided to coordinate their actions, and they started a petition demanding that channels like Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, Ryan Kinnell, some of those other channels, that they get shut down on YouTube. Now, considering that we were just talking about what YouTube did to Lauren Chen, surprisingly, to a certain degree, and I'm going to have to say it was surprising because maybe there just wasn't enough of them, YouTube said no and decided not to do it. So out comes the victim card playing, specifically on X. The only problem with doing it on X is that they no longer, the admins over at Twitter no longer have their backs. Elon has been making an active effort to remove the wokesters from Twitter when he finds them. For instance, one of the things that has recently come back to the Twitter/X website is that now you have hashtag MGTOW, hashtag Red Pill, all of those hashtags auto spell again, and somebody had intentionally gone in and removed those as an auto spell on their back. So either Elon is doing it himself, or he now has a couple of appointed people working at X/Twitter to make sure that the wokesters don't have the ability to dominate the conversation. Now, one of the things Elon didn't fix is that if you respond negatively to certain, the Twitter feed is specifically laid out in a way that you're supposed to encourage engagement and to keep you engaged. And I have to make sure that I don't, for the most part, fall into that trap, although I have from time to time. And nope. Geeks and Gamers, Ryan Kinnell, Nerdrotic, all of those channels, they're still there. They're still going strong. They're still doing their job. They're still being independent movie reporting sites, especially when you consider, and I didn't add this in as a topic when it happened about a month ago, but I have to add it in now, because it relates to this particular issue. is the fact that Rotten Tomato no longer has a fan rating. It only has a critic rating for the show. Yeah, I'm not making that up. So yeah,
The fuckers have lost when that's no different. Pardon me for stepping in here, but that's no different than cutting off or disabling comments on YouTube. Just saying.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, what can I say? Attempted censorship didn't work. They're still there. Ryan Kinnell was not happy about it and was calling these people out for the cowards that they were because they have tried doing something like this before. Kudos to YouTube for at least having enough brains to know, at least in this particular case, which side their bread is buttered on. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Is that official? You're talking about a trailer, right?
Well, the Snow White trailer got destroyed. Like, just destroyed. This is
No. I mean the Custodies, the Warhammer.
Yeah. This thing they released a CGI video where they had a female Custodes. She was a boss bitch, and she was disrespecting Space Marines, and she wasn't really even all that attractive, and she was imperious, and she was unlikable. And
please link me this at some point.
I will try to find it for you. And it's like, and also, you know what? And there was also a group of people, like what happened with this particular situation, where they tried to go in and they tried to shout down the critics.
Well, Cavill's already left the movie, hasn't he? That's what I heard.
Cavill has not left. Apparently, Cavill is sticking in there. Apparently, it's gonna be a game of chicken. It's either going to be the executives who blink first, or it's going to be, or the contract that they have signed with Cavill is going to run out, and he'll just go away. One of the two.
Wow. Yeah, I think. Wow. This. I'm not. If they do it right, and it goes to movie theaters, I will go and see the Warhammer 40K movie. If they're gonna have female Custodians, if they're gonna completely just disrespect the source material, I'll just torrent it later. You know my philosophy on that. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, I don't know. They want to stop people from being heard, Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, why is there a fan-run website? That would be pretty awesome, I think. Just screw Rotten Tomatoes. You have something else, and it's just no critics, no official critics, just fan votes. And if people start doing stuff like that independently, it would be a game changer. I really do believe it'll be a game changer in a lot of stuff, a lot of things. Not just for movies, but, a myriad of other stuff. We as people need to stop hanging on to the institutions and establishment. I mean, we need to establish our own. I'm so tired of people trying to control public opinion. It's just monstrous. I don't know. I don't have too much to say on this, but I just find that to be increasingly more and more offensive. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Wilson.
I was going to say, and for speaking of offensive, and then there's Rusin. Anyway, that's fine. Well, there was that petition to restart the acolyte or to continue it, it failed miserably. I think it only got like what 50,000, not quite 60,000 votes. So, and again, I still maintain that the acolyte is a $180 million attempted therapy session for Leslie Headland with the tumultuous, volatile relationship with her twin sister. And she apparently played Knights of the Old Republic. Apparently she didn't really get what the whole thing was all about. But then
Hello? Hello?
Did you swallow your ball gag there?
okay,
Here's
all right. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yep, go ahead.
Okay. My apologies. I know I pressed that button to be able to record. Okay. So the DEI crowd is
And he cuts off again.
okay. I think I know what might be going on here. All right.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I think I know what's happening here. Okay. So the DEI crowd is just not happy that there is a voice for the majority through the likes of Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic, and the crew or those associated with the podcast of Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers being one of them. Ryan Kennel is someone that I have listened to. I've listened to Chris Gore. X-Ray Girl hasn't really said very much that is memorable to me, at least overall. But these are the people that are saying things that the rest of us are thinking or feeling. I was listening to Drinker in an interview with another guy from Scotland who's got about 150,000 people. So I guess it was big enough of a platform for him to go on. And he basically just started to spout off. He wasn't. He's doing what he's doing. What he started then to what he's doing now. It wasn't intentional to get to be a YouTube star or to be a YouTube personality, but it was just him being honest with what he sees, and he's calling it out. And well, it turns out that he's not the only one that feels that way. And again, with the ejaculate, there was a petition that didn't quite get 60,000 votes or signatures on it for Disney to bring it back because there's no audience for it. They know this. I mean, shit. Deadpool Wolverine brought in over $1 billion. I don't know what the sales numbers are. I don't know what the ticket sales numbers are, but it didn't stop. And this is a strong indication, and Marvel has pivoted. They're going to start actually making the content of what the fans want. Now, there's the problem right now of Captain America 4, and that one's going to get expensed out of existence. They don't know what they're doing. But Feige has given an indication that they're actually going to start to give the fans what they want. Star Wars is not so much because the Force is female. Don't forget that, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? So the DEI with the DI crowd, they are outnumbered. They may have some control over the media in whatever way, shape, or form, but they're not omnipotent. Like they have no power. Them as an audience are unsustainable numbers. Like that's really what it comes down to. Again, what makes the movie great with Wolverine versus Deadpool, or Deadpool versus Wolverine, whatever you want to call it, the third Deadpool movie, and Star Wars for that matter, or anything that was in the Marvel Cinematic Universe up to and including Endgame, is that you had people going back again and again and again because it was what they wanted. The shit those people put out is not anything that nobody wants. It's what the crap they put out. The only thing that people want to do with it is flush it down the toilet because it's shit. Absolute garbage. So they have to resort to tactics to get what they want. So this attempted censorship on YouTube, that what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. These people should realize you ain't going to win. So one really likes you. Nobody really cares for you. Somebody else is more normal. It's only because they're paying the lip service. And we're not talking somebody getting on their knees lip service. You're insignificant. You are, in terms of market share, market percentage, you are insignificant. So I'd apologize for being honest what I have to say, but that would be insincere. And will be sincere to say, Nerdrotic, back to you.
Oh yeah. It's again, right. We're at the point now where they're starting, because HRC, because Robbie Starbuck is in like an actual target-rich environment right now, because HRC literally posts the companies that back what they're doing on a specific page, and it is a very long page full of every that there are a lot of them, a lot of corporations that are involved, and it makes Robbie Starbuck's job incredibly easy, because all he's got to do is just go down, and he just has to throw out some inquiries, especially with some of the companies like for instance, Harley Davidson, or Tractor Supply, or some of these places where the crowd that goes to that store is specifically right-leaning, for the most part, or conservative, right? And he's just going through and he's just picking off target after target after target, and it's like they're making it very easy because, for one thing, and this is something that DDJ mentioned a few years ago, they don't even care if they get caught at this point, right? Because they think they got protection, except that they don't. And again, right, what you're seeing here with the rise of guys like Robbie Starbuck and libs of TikTok and gays against groomers and sites like Nerdrotic, Nerdrotic Geeks and Gamers, Ryan Kinnell, Critical Drinker, those what you're seeing, and you're seeing, of course, even something which I think might be established, which is the company that Daily Wire. I suspect they might be controlled opposition at this point. But you're starting to see a core group of people organize. And I suspect, if we go back to topic number 2, I suspect that's what these Russian backers were thinking, right? Like, they're waiting for this white knight to come in and throw some cash around and make it easy for them to do it. And some of them went along with it. And for instance, Sebastian Gorka didn't, because the person who involved had no internet fingerprint at all. But yeah, right. Same thing's happening here, right? And the only concern uh, I have with this is that the same thing that happened with Tenet Media and the alt media is going to potentially happen with this group, right? Somebody comes in and starts throwing money around. Um, that's a possibility. But anyway, let's move on to the next topic here. This one is very interesting because this involves the Tennessee shooter. I am going to actually mention her name. I'm only going to mention it once, Audrey Hale. I might mention it again, but I mention it right at the start. Even the photos that I've seen of her suggest that she was a very disturbed individual, to say the least. And when she did this and the place that she targeted, it was like really, really, like, I mean, there was some speculation as to why she would do it. And among the things that came up as well, maybe there was a teacher there that was that sexually molested her and whatever. And I guess we'll find out when they release the manifesto. Except that they kept making all sorts of legal motions, and the judge refused to list it, and the police refused to release it, and they kept making legal move after legal move after legal move after legal move to prevent this manifesto from being released. And of course, right, as more of it got released in bits and pieces, it was becoming very clear here that and here's what's not in the manifesto, from what I understand. Audrey Hale was not sexually molested by a teacher or a group of people at that school. Audrey Hale was not doing this to strike back at bullying, or and there was what I'm saying here is that there was no noble intention with what Audrey Hale was doing. Audrey Hale picked that school because, in her words, there were a bunch of spoiled, entitled, white privileged boys and girls there who needed to be taught a lesson just because that they were white. She also in this manifesto, she left a will, I believe, and I think it was her manifesto, but she left a will about what should happen to her stuffed animals. There's a lot of sexual innuendo and a lot of gender confused stuff. And of course, naturally, you're not allowed to access the medical records of people who commit crimes, even if you're prosecuting. I suspect that this is going to be a restriction that is eventually going to be removed. But, what was earlier released about Audrey Hale's pharmacopoeia was pretty telling. And that's just the stuff that she wrote down. This is a very sick, very demented, evilly insane woman who should have either been put in a home and should have been forced to stay there, or at the very least should have been somebody that required a lot more monitoring than what she was actually getting. Like, yeah, what wasn't there was a bona fide, justifiable reason for doing it, other than racism, anger, and just because, right? she wanted the narcissism. She wanted to go out with a bang. And that's exactly what she did. There wasn't anything noble about it. And the reason why the judge was blocking it is not because there was any names in there that were going to be incriminated or anything like that. The reason why they blocked it is because she was a trans. She was yet another, and we're seeing a lot of these. In fact, there was another one in Georgia this week, like a disturbingly high number of these large school shootings are being done by trans individuals. And with it, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Yeah, I don't buy it. It took way too long to come out with the manifesto. Just the period of time, the link in itself, just totally invalidates it in my book. I think it's just being used for political political gain. No, they want to flip it, I think. So yeah, I mean, anything that the government at this point says about it, you gotta take it with a grain of salt. As far as her being a trans, I don't get the point of what she did. I'm not sure if it's a trans agenda. I mean, because if you're planning on killing people and then dying, what's the point in caring about your sex? What's the point in taking hormones? What's the point in changing your name and changing your clothing? What's the point? If you're just gonna, go out with a bang. So I think there's more to it than what anybody can actually see. You just can't trust the government, though. That's all I got. Go ahead, Risson.
Sorry about that. All right. I realize that hunches and feelings, genuine feelings, not my feelings are hurt. I'm offended. That kind of shit doesn't matter. And that, what did I see earlier today on the warden watching something on YouTube? It was on CBC. Not that I trust watching those fuckers, but that's another story. But these large corporations that are buying up apartment buildings, condo units, whatever possible, and then basically jacking up the rent, not like Moroki doesn't know, forcing people out, and then they're going to basically tear it down and build something new. They don't go on the news because they're going to get grilled on it. To me, that is rather self-incriminating as to the chicanery that's going on here. The fact that we don't know what Audrey, and I use that term very loosely, we have no idea what Audrey had for any kind of medications, who the counselors were. And if we look at the counselors, how far back, how much can we look into their backgrounds, education, what are their social networks, to basically establish rhyme, reason, motive, whatever you want to call it. Can't do that. I don't remember what it was when I still had this one leftist who's even more off the deep end than our former friend is. And I had asked the question of, well, I'd like to know what kind of pharmaceuticals are these kids on, or these people on, that are committing, funny enough, these gun crimes. And what was it, the last one that happened on the news? As soon as I saw it, I went, oh, funny, look at that. Another school shooting. the mass murder. And what is it? Oh, yeah, it's an election year. So, with the manifesto being finally somewhat disseminated or released, I mean, at the time we were calling bullshit. We were calling it out for what it was, which was false flag bullshit. Not to say it didn't happen, but the setup for the restriction of the Second Amendment. Now, again, Hiroki and I, we have to be Canadians, but I'm changing my attitude towards personal firearms to, with what I'm seeing going on in this country, north of the border. I would like to be able to get my hands on one. Can do it. It just requires a whole lot of work. Not to say that I can go into a gun shop, not that there are many in Calgary, because there's only one left that I'm aware of. Can't walk into a gun shop, it's like, yep, here's all the money I got, I need a gun. It doesn't work that way. You need training, make sure you don't hurt yourself, and especially that you don't hurt other people, and, whatever else. I get it. I totally get it. But I'm sorry, folks, but that's what this is all about. He had said, anything that has to do with the government, don't trust him. He's not wrong. I don't trust the government. I don't trust my local government. But then again, too, I mean, Trudeau brought in a bill to restrict even more firearms about 2 years ago, I think it was. So the stuff that can be, and two things the government doesn't want an awake, they don't want a knowledgeable, intelligent populace, and they don't want a populace that can fight back. So what I'm trying to say is that, as I said already, is that this is all going back to trying to have more control over the citizenry. And if they can't defend themselves, well, then they're in control. And as we've seen with Cambodia, free Mao China, or the transition for Mao to go into power, in Armenia, and other, Cuba, I believe Cuba was another one as well too. But Castro, citizens can't fight back. You can do what you want. So, yeah, to me, this is all just one. It was nothing but a false flag. So I've got nothing more to say. Eric, all yours.
Yeah, that was a very again, like when something like this happens, I mean, you want to think, or at least part of you wants to believe, that there was perhaps some grander motivation, like revenge, or somebody sexually abused her or something like that. And it's like, it just becomes really disappointing. And yeah, it does diminish it. Like, releasing it takes away the mysticism about it, like the cover up. Like, I mean, like, they weren't covering up for a local politician or some local celebrity or whatever, right? They were just covering us up because they had an agenda, right? Never mind the fact that, again, like that shooter in Georgia here recently, again, trans individual. Like, I mean, you're seeing story after story after story of not cis white, quote unquote, cis white males going into schools and shooting them up. What you're seeing stories of are trans individuals, heavily medicated, mentally unstable. And, this is the catch-22 of the United States. Yeah, there is a right to bear arms, right? And that right to bear arms is the reason why North America, unlike a lot of other parts of the world, including in the United, like North America would include Canada and Mexico, Like, they were taking people who got exposed to COVID, and they were just like throwing them into these camps without even the benefit of a trial. Or they were like putting a ring around, and this is something that happened in Australia. They were putting a ring around a city and preventing anybody leaving over like 3 cases and stuff like that. They could restrict travel. They could restrict travel on trains and planes and so forth. But I mean, you could still drive around. You could still have freedom of movement. And part of the reason why that happened is because, like, if they tried to pull the same stuff that they pulled in Australia and pulled in some parts of Europe and definitely pulled in other parts of the world over COVID, if they had tried that in North America, the individuals who participated in that would have been killed. They would have been shot dead. Conversely, though, you have this, where you have mentally unstable individuals with access to guns and the willingness to use them. And, like, they were hoping before this got released that there was something, like there was a justifiable reason for it, and there is no justifiable reason for it. It's just insanity, hatred, vitriol, and narcissism or psychopathy wrapped up in an individual who just did it just because she could. And that's where I'm going to stop with that one. Now, let's move on to the next one. Now, this one, and people have been calling this guy the Brazilian Voldemort, and he has an issue with Elon Musk. And he wasn't able to do anything as long as Bolsonaro was in power, but now Bolsonaro's not in power. And I got to point out something. Unlike the United States, unlike Canada, the Brazilian democratic elections are basically like just one huge mass vote for the prime minister, right? It's not like this state gets this many electoral votes like it is in the U.S. or in Canada, where, you win by the number of seats that you have in the House of Commons, right? It gets a straight up popular vote. And in that last election, Bolsonaro apparently won a lot of districts. In fact, he won more districts than the actual president of Brazil won. But the president of Brazil won, and this sounds eerily similar to what happened in the United States. He won in the coastal cities. He won in the urban ridings, and most of the population lives in the urban ridings, so they got most of the seats. Then, of course, Brazilian Voldemort almost immediately started going after Elon Musk. And there is obviously a lot of political will in Brazil to make this happen, because he's been able to really do whatever he wanted to do towards Elon Musk that it got upheld by the courts. And one of the things he's been really pushing hard for was the banning of X and Rumble. Now, I have spoken to people in Brazil. You don't actually have Rumble, just like in France, you don't have Rumble in Brazil. And you don't have X. You also don't have Starlink either. That system's been shut down, even though members of the Brazilian armed forces actually use Starlink to communicate. So I don't know what the Brazilians are going to do to fix that problem. And the issue was, and this is something I finally had to give up. And I didn't say give up, but I finally had to go and install a VPN and start using it. And why did I have to start using it? Because if you go, for instance, I'm at camp right now, and this particular camp, I cannot access BitChute or Gab. And keep in mind, BitChute and Gab have definitely, and V will agree with me when he gets around to sharing about this, BitChute and Gab have a lot of actual legit white supremacists, not faux white supremacists, but actual legit, full bore Jew behind every blade of grass white supremacists on their site. Like, I mean, Terrence Popp, and I saw him talk about BitChute lately, because Terrence Popp has the second biggest following of his show on BitChute, and he's quoted on the record as saying, I don't respond to the comments on BitChute. I let him talk, but I don't respond to them. And he didn't specifically say why. The only thing he said about it was that there's a lot of insane people at BitChute. That was his response. And that has been my response. That's what I've run into as well. Even though it literally is currently, it does have my biggest subtotal, is at BitChute. And what's been going on is that, I mean, I finally had to cave in and get a VPN because companies, a lot of them connected to HRC, have suddenly decided that they can legislate morality. So I cannot get BitChute and Gab. At Indigo's, which is the bookstore, otherwise known as Chapters in Canada, I cannot get MGTOW Beat TV, BitChute, Gab, A Voice for Men, and a number of other websites. They're banned, unless, of course, you have a VPN. Consistent word here being VPN. And the Brazilian government knew about VPNs, and I think you're really going to love this. The Brazilian government decided that anybody caught using a VPN in Brazil was going to get fined the equivalent of $9,000 US per day if they got caught.
What? Wow. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know how they're going to enforce that. I mean, and it's going to get overturned the moment this, and because I was pretty sure this government's not going to last. They're going to be one and done, right? But I mean, it indicates, and this is something that I'm seeing a lot of when I'm going through the topics tonight. It indicates that, you know, the power players, the wokesters, the globalists, whatever you want to call them, are losing power everywhere. And when they get it, they have to get more extreme, and they have to block and censor even more than they normally do because they're trying to catch up on ground, and they're losing everywhere. They're going to lose in Brazil eventually. Javier Milei, it doesn't look like Javier Milei is going anywhere soon. In fact, I suspect that, and this is just a personal suspicion of mine, I have a very sneaking suspicion that Donald Trump he won't go as far as Javier Milei, but I mean, I suspect he's going to be adapting some of his strategies if he wins the presidency, which I'm thinking he probably will. But yeah, that tells you how desperate the globalists have become about the alt media, about alt reporting, about alt everything. And again, this go back to topic number 3, go back to topic number 2, go back even topic number 4, right? You know, their hold on what is quote unquote the truth is starting to slip really, really badly, and it's starting to slip really, really badly everywhere. And the places where they do have power, they're like tightening their grip to the point where it's like, you know, they're actually holding on to even less. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Yeah. Could this also have something to do with BRICS as well?
I suspect it might, but here's the thing. Russia and India are not doing these things like they are in Brazil.
Okay. Well, you got a lot of CIA economic hitman stuff still going on in South America. The government likes to overthrow people, throw money down their throats, make them beholden to us. Not necessarily on a global warfare sort of situation. It's not the worst thing the CIA could be doing, but I suspect I suspect some involvement from them. And yeah, VPN. Oh man, I love my VPNs. I have just the most excellent, and I'll make a suggestion because they've really did a long haul on their program. Recent update is killer. You want to get no root firewall and get the one from No Shirts. There are others with the same name, but the creator, if you want to get the real deal, get the one made by No Shirts. Excellent firewall. I mean, you can literally block access to the internet for each individual app or applet. System apps, whatever you've installed. If you don't want it connected to the internet, you can select it via Wi-Fi or data option, or both, or neither. So it's really awesome. And yes, VPNs, awesome. I've never had a issue with it. It's very, very comprehensive. Works well. Yeah. So I love the idea of government trying to tell you what you can and can't use on your own devices. My first thing would be tell them go to hell, and secondly, catch me if you can. Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's not just an issue of watching things that's not available in your area. It's security. Having VPN is security. It's not just about privacy, it's security as well. For the government to tell you you can't have certain security protecting your devices and your identity, come on now. Come now. You're overreaching and grabbing at air because you can't control this. You're not going to control it. Unless you're going to have a soldier in every household monitoring you, they can't stop it. Hell, it was the whole point of the VPN was to not have to deal with the government and then saying what you can and can't do on your devices. That's the whole point. So, I don't know. that would be like buying a car off the car dealer lot and then being arrested as soon as you drove it on the road. Come on now. Can we stop being ridiculous for one freaking minute? People always want to throw you into a psych ward, commit you, because what you're saying is crazy. But these governments, they're saying and doing the most insane things possible with nobody to check them. I don't know how that works. I don't know how we as a people, as a society, as a species, how we even allow that. All right, yeah, no, I'm passionate about the subject, but I will rant all day long. But you know what? People, stay the course. do what you're doing, use your VPN, and live your best life. Go ahead, Rissy.
Well, my preferred VPN, and I just like it. I like this as an all-in-one package. Is with Proton, or what used to be Proton Mail. I'm relying much more now on Proton Mail for my email. I still have a Gmail for the goddamn fucking phone for now, but I made the conscious decision. What was I using before? I was using ExpressVPN for a while, and that seemed to be okay. But it just came down to, like I said, just have an all-in-one package. My email, equivalent of Google Drive, and a VPN, and calendar. Yeah, shit, I'm happy with that, and I am. So, but I'm of the opinion that Bolsonaro's election was probably rigged, much like what happened in France, and with the electoral fuckery going on in the UK. Tommy Robinson, say what you will about him, but he was detained here, and suddenly was released. Conveniently was released, allowed to go back to the UK after the election was done. So, not terribly surprised by that. And again, with that former friend between Hiroki and I listed off reasons that Canada's becoming totalitarian or quite authoritarian. I mean, it really came down to, well, this year I already mentioned it before, more restrictions on firearms. People that donated to the trucker convoy weren't participants, donated, had their bank accounts frozen. I mean, if that isn't authoritarian, I don't know what is. To go with the Emergency Measures Act that was invoked and deemed unconstitutional. So I'm surprised that Trudeau has not rolled out at all VPNs. I expect that that's on his to-do list, assuming that he gets very far. But we'll talk about that shit when we get to topic number 6. But with Brazil to pull this one off, then again, also here in Canada as well too, is that digital publishers can't. If they're going to publish Canadian news, they have to pay to make it available. And pretty much all that basically said, go fuck yourself. I mean, if I was inclined on, I was Musk, I'd be kind of like, yeah, sure, you can put Canadian news on here. I don't really care. You're going to, and then, Trudeau's going to turn on so that you owe us the touch. And kind of going, no, I don't. We'll go to court, and then we'll see how constitutional that really is, or how much that makes sense. So, with the way that things are going with the New World Order crowd, this is also something that doesn't surprise me. My first thought when I saw that was, oh, well, yeah, that's not shocking at all. That's not surprising in the least. I mean, we've been calling out effectively what's the deep state since pretty much from the get-go here. And it was much like I'm sure you're like this, like you start to know what to expect of what government or government agencies, three-letter, it's the alphabet mafia. You start to know what they're with whatever decisions they're going to be making for imposing new policies, which in one form or another will ultimately end up being restrictions on the general public. After a while, you're not surprised anymore. Or you might be surprised in the sense of, oh, I was expecting they were going to do this before this, or I was expecting them to do this a lot sooner. So I don't see what they're doing right now. Then again, Saudi Arabia has basically been granted membership into BRICS. So I don't see this being a problem in terms of any other tensions with other countries on their policy of a VPN or restrictions and whatnot. But maybe that will be an issue to come up soon enough. I don't know. But then again, if BRICS hasn't said anything about this, it almost makes me think that the front-facing presidency, and it's a president of Brazil, not a prime minister. And Roki, just to clarify that, I don't know. To me, this is all just seems to be nothing but just a whole lot of political theater. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, folks, I would recommend for you to be on a VPN. I've got a VPN on my phone and I've got it on my laptop. I've got that on with my son's computer. That's my wife. Whatever she does, she does. I don't care. And that's all I got to say. Let's go.
Okay, so hold on a second here. I was downloading photos of Jagmeet Singh for the archive here for the slideshow. Hold on a second here. One more. There we go. Nice big bright orange NDP logo, which I might just go to Rusin because we both love the NDP so much. All right, so the last.
Fuck you.
Somehow or another, the timer kind of shut off on my end. I don't know whether it's still up at yours, but for now, yeah. So a lot of Canadian content. Let's start out with the obvious one here. Jagmeet Singh finally broke his alliance with Justin Trudeau. Now, this comes a little bit sooner than I was expecting. I wasn't expecting him to do this until the new year, when we're getting closer to when he qualifies for his pension. But my personal suspicion is that Jagmeet Singh had to announce this, at least he was going to have to announce this ahead of time in order to justify calling a non-confidence motion for Trudeau at some point in time. There's got to be a few people that are going to go, oh, well, Jagmeet Singh was opposed to the Online Harms Act, therefore that's what he's, because that actually doesn't actually get completely ratified yet. But I mean, no, it's not anything like that. Bottom line here is that Jagmeet Singh got pressured by people by his rivals in his caucus to do this because they know he's dangerously close to his pension, and they're going to try and force they're going to try and force an election early and not on Trudeau's time, because they know that if they continue to support Trudeau right to the bitter end, that they're going to go down with him. And Jagmeet Singh has also been aware that he's been going down with him. But let's look at some of the stuff that Jagmeet Singh has done. He totally backed, like you said, he totally backed Trudeau with everything that he did during the Freedom Convoy. He backed what Trudeau did during COVID. He backed Trudeau. He backed Trudeau in what, and I think it was another non-confidence motion he did. I mean, he's backed everything that Trudeau has done. Has been backed. And had to be backed up by the NDP, because the Liberal Party and a lot of people keep forgetting about this, it's a minority government. So Jagmeet Singh is actually just as guilty, if not even more guilty, for some of the stuff that Trudeau has been doing as Justin Trudeau has, because Justin Trudeau could not have done some of the stuff he had done unless he had Jagmeet Singh's support. So a lot of the insane leftist tactics that you saw Justin Trudeau pulling were done at the behest of Jagmeet Singh. Now, the other issue that Jagmeet Singh is facing is that Jagmeet Singh, and I had to say this before, during the NDP convention in Hamilton, I believe it was this year, he got 80% support, but they had to call the cops in. Like, there was acts of anti-white racism, extreme leftism, the intolerant woke crowd attempting to bully the other section, and they were not that alt section was not in the majority there. One guy who happened to be a white male was told basically to sit down, shut up, or get to the end of the line because he was not going to be able to speak until all the women had spoken before him. Yeah, that actually happened. I listened to that. Nobody called this particular MP out. You've had an NDP MP that claimed that he got assaulted at an anti-grooming. Oh yeah, and he's been totally on board with the grooming stuff as well. There's just so much stuff that Trudeau has done that has been done with the blessing of Jagmeet Singh. And while Trudeau is, how do I want to put it, a piece of fucking work, Jagmeet Singh is also right up there with him. The only difference between the NDP and the Liberals is that for some strange reason, the NDP hasn't plummeted in popularity because they're not the party in power. And that's just kind of tragic. And yeah, we're gonna copy these one at a time. So, V, do you have anything to say on this, or can we let Rearson do the talking?
Yeah. Let Rearson. The longer we keep him off the ball gag, the better. So go ahead, Rearson.
Okay. I'm okay, I assure you. There are no aliens or no Valkyries here either. So anyway. Well, the thing with Singh is that he has two provincial elections coming up. There's the one in BC. They're going to the BC NDP government is on the verge of being kicked out because governments will mess up after you've been in power long enough. The public gets tired of you and doesn't want you anymore. Except in Alberta, which had a 40-year conservative government broken up by the NDP, which really messed things up for a little while. And there's another one that's going on, or that will be happening soon enough in Saskatchewan. So there's still a few more things to go along with all of that as well, too. The timing of this couldn't be any worse because last week, I'm not talking the week just passed, the week of September 5th. A week before that is when Pierre Poilievre had called out Singh specifically for his 2.3, 2.6, I don't know what his frickin' federal pension. And he said he's been keeping him afloat so he can get that. Well, last week, and again, in the sense of timing, it couldn't have been any worse for the NDP, gives the impression that Singh caved publicly under the pressure of what Poilievre had called him out for. And even a CTV reporter Vashi Kapelis, had apparently grilled him on him sticking around to get his pension. And I haven't seen the clip, but he got really upset with that. So she's one of the few reporters that I've seen on clips. Hold on. Oh, just muted myself just in time for that. She's one of the few that seems to go after the politicians and just grills them. Doesn't matter what political party they are. So, and then there was, he was asked about some of the images that were made or that were picked. And that was about, it sounded like, the impression that I got from him is that the decision to pull the plug was made about 3 to 4 weeks ago. Just that he had been sitting on this long enough until it was time, I guess, to announce that I'm telling I'm telling Trudeau that he's on notice now. Guys, nothing's gonna fucking happen. Like, nothing is gonna happen for a little while. Not until perhaps, I think the BC election is probably the first. I don't know which is coming first, the Saskatchewan election or the BC election. Either way, the man is about as real as an American $2 bill. And that's the nicest way that I can say that. There's nothing. He's supposed to be a man for the people. But his brother is a lobbyist for a competitor against Loblaws and Sobeys, which are two grocery chains, big grocery chains in Canada. And apparently he has 2 different Rolex watches. I'm sorry, but I think even politicians can't really afford to buy a Rolex. So, and he's gone to university. He's pursued law at Osgoode University, which I believe is part of Western, which is in London, Ontario. And he loves to have his BMW, or at least one BMW anyway. So there's nothing on this man that is genuine for the working class, for the Canadians that don't have. This guy, he loves to dress in $2,000 suits as well. So this man is all about substance, and the substance he has, he should be in the private sector, not in the public. So why he got involved with this, he has this social justice mentality, I don't know, but the man is a sellout. He absolutely is a sellout. Excuse me. Norka, there's going to be something I'm going to send to you later. I sent to a friend and I had asked one of the big Rumble channels, he had asked me anything, and I had asked about Canada. And I asked specifically about what's going to happen with Singh supporting Trudeau and kind of how much longer is it going to be going on. And he basically replied back saying that could be around for much longer. So what that's going to look like, what that's going to turn into, I have no idea. But we'll see. We'll have to wait and see. So at this point, I'm almost past the point of not really caring anymore. I mean, I do. But I'm not as jaded as I was before. I'm becoming more emotionally detached to what's going on. Not to say that I don't care. I'm just not letting myself get riled up by it anymore. So, if there's going to be any sort of an election, there will be. But when there's going to be an election sooner, before May. Well, that all depends on when it's politically convenient. I'm hoping that there's going to be a vote of non-confidence again to axe the tax, which would be absolutely beautiful to see what Singh and his party is going to do, because I'm hoping that the Liberals are going to be grinding non-confidence votes on every single little freaking matter to see how much the NDP and how much Singh is going to support Trudeau to the bitter end. So, in a way, I'm actually going to be laughing at all of this because shit's going to get really real pretty soon. So, well, who knows? So, let's move on to the next topic of Canadian content.
Okay, this one. I'm actually having trouble finding photos of this guy. But this is a very similar thing to what they were trying to do with the Republican Party early on in the primaries, where the Democrats were attempting to get a bunch of left-wingers and socialists and whatever to join the Republican Party to make sure that Trump couldn't get the Republican nomination. And they eventually settled on Nikki Haley, which didn't go anywhere. I suspect that Nikki Haley stayed in as long as she did, though, on the premise that had the assassination of Trump gone forward and had it actually worked, Nikki Haley would have been the leading candidate and not some of the other people. Like, Nikki Haley would have been the corporate choice, but that's not what happened. Well, they tried to do this with the Alberta Conservative Party and Danielle Smith. What they were going to try to do is at the next UCP, United Conservative Party of Alberta, what Cam Davies was going to try to do is that he was going to try to get a bunch of leftists and socialists and whatever to take over the Conservative Convention and oust Danielle Smith from within the party. This didn't work. There was a whistleblower. He went to Kean Bext. Kean Bext immediately released he did a little bit of investigation, but he immediately released the information. Cam Davies, which is probably one of the reasons why I'm having a hard time finding any pictures of this particular event, filed a lawsuit against Kean Bext to prevent him from doing stuff. Of course, Kean Bext is fighting this in court, but what it basically boils down to is that Cam Davies was trying to clandestinely hire people to show up at the next Conservative Convention and to oust Danielle Smith and to force a new election, which would have undoubtedly bring in a woke candidate like, say, Theresa May or Andrew Scheer or someone like that under the banner of the Conservative Party. It didn't work because somebody talked, but they still tried to do it, and they tried to cover it up when they got caught. I am surprised that True North and the Rebel have not jumped up on top of this, but neither one of them has, at least so far. It probably might not get outside of Alberta because it failed miserably, and people will be looking at the next Conservative Convention. They will be looking out for people like this. So it ended before it even got started. But this just goes to tell you how desperate they're getting, right? And how badly they're trying to do this stuff behind the scenes, as opposed to trying to challenge Danielle Smith and Donald Trump and whatever on straight up. And shocked, was a little surprised, but I'd heard of it before. But yeah, things like this only work if nobody talks. And in Alberta, unfortunately for us, someone did. And I am relieved. I suspect we're going to need Danielle Smith here for a few years to get things done. And I guess V doesn't want to do any more talking. Nope, I guess not.
It'll be Canadian content. He's shown aversions to that before, so nothing personal, my friend, but I'm not surprised. Okay, yeah. So
take us out, man. Take us out.
Well, this isn't the first time I've heard about attempts of political sabotage of parties. Back, I had met people that were part of the Alberta Green Party at the time, and someone ended up going in and organizing. I don't know if it was Cam Davies, but I don't remember who the person was. But the ruling council, shall we say, of the Alberta Green Party, they ended up basically getting voted out. And there are enough saboteurs, I guess would be the best way to say it, that things got messy. And someone is in possession of owning the Alberta Green Party. They're not in existence anymore. I didn't actually. I might look into that. But apparently, the crowd got rather unruly, and the people that were there ended up running for their lives, literally. I think that was around 2008. That sounds about right. There was a gentleman that I knew that was involved with it to some degree or another, but I haven't spoken with him in years. Well enough after that. So it could very well be that this was a sting operation as well too. People like this that would be monitored by other political parties. That's my thinking or my feeling on this one. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. I don't know. But there is a chronological historical moment of, as I said, political party sabotage. So, but maybe this could also be part of the White Hat operation too. I don't fucking know. But of the political systems that are in place in Canada right now, I trust the Alberta government a lot more than I do not trust the Calgary government, Calgary City Council, and I certainly do not trust Ottawa. Even with Polyev, I'm not 100% behind the guy. I really am not. So, for me, this is wonderful news. I would certainly rather have Smith in charge with what's going on, rather than fucking Nahid Nenshi. Oh my god, the guy scares the shit out of me. But I don't think he'll get very much. I can see him trying to. I can see him going for one attempt after the next election, which he won't win. Maybe going into the second one as well too, if he sticks around long enough. But I don't see him lasting. It'll be too politically inconvenient. He won't win, or not enough people want him. And this could very well be, I don't know, but this could very well be an attempt in terms of skullduggery or fuckery or whatever you want to call it. I wouldn't be surprised at the possibility that this was also that there were agents within maybe the Alberta NDP party that were trying to organize this, but doing it in a much more secretive, clandestine way. I don't know. Really? Looking up some music for the slideshow afterwards.
Oh, yeah, no, there was a protester. He was waving a trans flag, and he got hit straight on with a water cannon. Oh, wow.
Where was that?
That was on Instagram.
Oh, fuck. Oh, Well, that's the other thing as well, too. The White Ninja, I don't think is going to win because he was there protesting against the changes that Smith had brought in for kids that want to change the Audi to an innie. Got to wait until you're 18. Sorry, but just it's not going to happen until then. And he was out there here in Calgary protesting against that. So the man's chances of winning, I don't see it happen. I really honestly don't. Anyway. But what will happen with the next convention? I don't even know when that's going to be. I don't see the popularity for Smith going away anytime soon. And I'm sure that they're going to be able to give them enough time. They can probably figure out or see, if they were to look into it, to do searches on new members, new memberships that come in. I mean, what they really should be doing, and I realize this takes time, is to vet each person, and if they seem to even smell, have a whiff, a stink of being a socialist or being basically there, as I said, as a political provocateur. That's the word I'm looking for, a provocateur. Sorry, thanks, goodbye, you're not coming in. So that's just how I see it. Whether that'll happen, oh, that's another story. And I don't have any more to say, my friend. I am done.
Yeah, I'm pretty much done as well. Yeah, I'm ready to go to bed here. Thanks for keeping me. Thanks for keeping me distracted from all the stuff that's going on here tonight, because it's like, yeah, tomorrow is going to be a very interesting day.
Yeah, no, you're welcome, man. I'm glad to indirectly help with your problems.
It's going to be a very interesting day. Yeah, but that is it for tonight. We'll see you. Like I said, I'm going to be moving 399 probably to Friday to accommodate Henrik. And we'll see what we can do about getting his microphone and so forth fixed. But that is it for tonight. Thank you everybody for showing up.
Yeah.
And I will see you tomorrow, and we'll see you later.
And make sure everybody goes to tlbtalk.com. You better be posting too, Naroki.
I sent you the story. Anyway, I'll talk to you later.